On this episode, we speak about how not to worry. Worrying can really take over your life if you let it. I've wrestled with worry for years until I just couldn't do it anymore. I discovered the key to not worrying is found in understanding what worry is and the reasons we worry at all. Tune in as we define this nagging habit and gain tips and tools on how to break up with worry for good, right here on LifeClub. I'm Tashima Jones. Welcome to LifeClub. I genuinely believe personal development unlocks the door to the abundant and wonderful life we all already have. I also believe we must be intentional about seeking out that life in order to find and fulfill it. I am so grateful your journey of discovery has led you all the way here. Let's keep moving forward together. Once again, welcome to Life Club with me, Tashima Jones. Welcome. Super excited to be here with you as always. You are tuning in to Life Club with me, Tashima Jones. I am practicing the art of pacing myself. So if I seem a little bit slower than normally, that's the reason why I'm truly being mindful of how I operate and how I flow in the things that I am doing. And of course, I'm recommending that you do the same. So that was a side note. So today we are speaking about how not to worry. As a teenager, my closest friends called me nervous Purvis because of this intense habit of worry. Now, the definition of worry is to slay, kill, or injure by biting and shaking the throat. I bet you probably didn't hear that definition of this thing we call worry. That is the origin of that concept of worry. And I hesitated to even share those words because, again, I am so conscious of the words that I speak, but I found it necessary to share the reality of this habit. This leads me to a very significant point. Worrying is a habit. It is a learned behavior, and for years I have practiced this very low frequency activity of worrying about everything from speaking to people to not having enough food to eat, worrying about if I would do well or how people would receive me. I have worried about leaving on a pot or if I locked the door. I worried about my friends, my family, my future, even my past. I have worried so much throughout my life. And it wasn't until recently that I decided I just didn't want to worry anymore. It really came down to that moment where it was like, you know what? I don't even want to worry anymore. I have come to a place of sincere trust in the life force, yet I found myself still in this constant state of worry. It became an unsustainable, very unfortunate, and very unprofitable habit that I just couldn't afford to do anymore. And I had to drop it. And that night, I literally experienced the most peaceful sleep I've ever experienced. And I want to pass this gift on to you. So let's officially dig in. Again, when we know the definition of a thing, we will know how to properly use it. So again, the definition of worry is literally to choke. On a simple level, it is the habit of thinking the worst possible outcome of a situation. It is void of hope, which is the belief that the favorable outcome will be the result. And the interesting thing about worry is that when it happens, your physical body is literally reacting to that worry as if it's really happening right now in that moment. It triggers your emotions and it triggers literally the physiological, if that's proper term I'm using, state of your body. Worrying, again, literally means to choke at the throat. I really want to drill that home to you. And again, I am so mindful of the words that I speak. And one of the things, and I don't normally use this word very often, which is hate, but one of the things that I hate is fear and worry. And I hate it so much that I don't want anybody to have to experience it. So when we get this picture of worry as an image of choking, I hope that it sparks a shift in your mind and in your emotions and even in your behavior so that you can really just stop it and drop it. That's one of my new things. I was watching a movie and the line was, and just drop it. And that helps me along with certain things that I'm thinking about or again, worrying about. And I just tell myself, just drop it. And it really, really helps. So yeah, there are times when a person is experiencing intense worry and literally they go into a state of panic and they cannot breathe. Remember, worry is to choke. They have these panic attacks. Some people faint. Some people can't even move. And again, it's the result of this really, really low frequency, aka bad habit of worrying. Worrying literally shortens your life. And even if it's not physical, the reality of it is that it stifles your ability to enjoy the moment that you are currently existing in. So worry, it's a bad habit. It's something that we really do need to get rid of and replace with something that is pure and noble and favorable and profitable to us. And I think the only way to do that is to first understand what worry is and the effects that it has on your body and on your mind. And then the other thing is the reason why we worry. So again, I used to worry about so many things, whether it was just on a personal level of my appearance or how I spoke or, how people perceived me or if I was going to do well or if I was going to fail. Like all of these things would come to mind and bum rush me to the point where you either don't do anything at all or you do not perform at your best and at your fullest potential. So one of the reasons people worry is insecurity. Being insecure literally means you feel inadequate in a certain area of your existence and of who you are. You can have food insecurity, financial insecurity, intellectual insecurities, relationship insecurities, physical insecurities, prestige insecurities, and power insecurities. You can have this whole list of insecurities. At one point, I felt like the only people who were insecure were women, and when it came to relationships. Now, while I didn't know that that was how my mind was set up, I come to realize that the only time that I would acknowledge insecurity was when it came to being in a relationship. But then as I encountered more and more #aha moments and had some time of sila and just being able to really tap into what is going on the inside of me versus looking at everything on the outside of me, I started to realize that this idea of insecurity really was woven into the fabric of my paradigm towards myself. And it was in those times that I had to acknowledge those insecurities and then find out where those insecurities were planted and then uproot them and start to rebuild. So that's one of the areas that we really, really have to be, AKA real with ourselves. You have to be real with yourself about any insecurities that you may experience. You have to be real with yourself about what areas of your life, whether they're personal, pertaining to you, the self, the real self, or whether they're pertaining to the flesh of you, the body, the physical appearance, or whether it's pertaining to finances or education or your relationships and things of that nature, you really have to take some moment of reflection on how you perceive yourself and your self-image. Remember, self-esteem is simply the opinion you have about yourself. So if you do not esteem yourself highly in the area of intellect, then you're going to dim your light when you're in a space and in a place of people that you perceive to be intelligent. The same is true for power. If you see yourself as this underdog who has no type of power, when you're around people in a room where you perceive those people as powerful, again, you will not perform your best because you feel insecure in that area. You do not feel adequate. And that's the other thing. It's like this perception that we have of other people. 9 times out of 10, everybody in that room is shaking in their boots. Some people just have learned how to harness that power and manifest it in a way they feel comfortable. And when all else fails, you do it anyway. You do it in the face of fear, because that's truly what courage is. No one can really be courageous without some form of fear being in their way. Because if they weren't afraid, then it wouldn't be courage. It wouldn't be anything to stand up against. So understanding that you have to dig into the insecurities that you face and that you deal with in your everyday life. And oftentimes those insecurities lay dormant until a moment comes where it brings it to life. And you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know I was walking around with this fear. Or you don't necessarily feel it in those moments alone or when you are in a comfort zone. But fears are embedded into your mind, and they usually only arise when you're facing them. So in order to combat those things, you need to sit in a space where you're not necessarily facing the fear, but have a real conversation with yourself about those things that you already know. And I am sure that it will reveal so much more. I didn't realize how fear-filled I was until I started to dig in, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know I had this issue, or I didn't know I had this issue, or I didn't realize like what this thing was. So it's so vital, so important for us to recognize our fears and then check them, gain some form of control over them, gain some form of control over those insecurities. And I truly believe that the way that you face insecurity is looking for your secure place, looking for that secure anchor that regardless of what you have or don't have, regardless of the status that you may want and the status that you actually hold, regardless of all of the material possessions and the accolades that you can ever accomplish in life, nothing is truly secure in this life except for spirit, except for the life force in I don't even know if it's an opinion, because I truly believe that it's truth. So when you recognize that everything that you can ever have is just a bonus to who you already are, I truly believe that that will allow so many, if not all of those insecurities to fade and fall away. So again, we are speaking about worry. And one more time, worry, and you're probably going to hear it again before the end of this hour, but worry is really this negative, low frequency, bad habit that we possess and that we see as everything just going wrong. And what it does to us is that it really drains us of life itself. The etymology of that word is to slay, to kill, to strangle at the neck. I really want people to understand what worry is. And when you think about what worry does to you, it just clicks. And I hope the light bulb is going on. Like, you have to literally get to a space in your life where you just, I don't want to use it, but I'm going to use it. You just get sick and tired of being sick and tired. You just get over this thing like that's on your back. Like literally the night that I, just prayed to be released from this worry, I literally felt like I was carrying around this book bag full of bricks, and all of the bricks were just labeled with worry, different things that I worried about. And literally, I felt that weight being lifted off of me when I stopped thinking about the things that I was worrying about, and I just focused on the fact that I was just worried. Like, the idea of worry became a burden. And then we started to dig into the reasons why people worry. And the first thing was simple insecurity, things that we become insecure about, things that we, grapple with and feel inadequate in those areas. A lot of insecurities may come from your childhood. It may come from different experiences that you have that you have gone through that you never really healed from, or that you fear will happen again. And you have to let those things go. You have to say, okay, that was then, this is now. How do I want to move forward? And if you're an avid listener of Life Club, you know that at a certain point in your life, you have to take responsibility for how you move forward, not necessarily how things happened in the past, but how am I going to respond to this situation? And more importantly, how am I going to create new situations in my life? So that was insecurities. And then the other thing, I already got a little ahead of myself, is our experiences. Our childhood experiences start to teach us things about life. And if we do not have a guide or a guardian to really guide us and protect us, to guard us from those things, to shield us and protect us from those unfortunate situations that may very well happen, we kind of have to deal with those circumstances in our childhood mind by ourselves. And I'm pretty sure so many people have experienced things in their lives as children that they still don't understand, or that they still confront every single day of their lives, and the adults who were responsible for them probably don't even know about. And if they did know about it, they may not have been equipped to really help them through that, even if it was saying, okay, I may not know the answer, but let's seek out the answer for you. Let's seek out the help that you need to really deal with this. And then the other experiences that we go through are in adulthood. I just have to make a point of this, is that a lot of us are responding to life in our 14-year-old selves and our 5-year-old selves and our 18-year-old selves. And it's like, we can't do that anymore. I mean, I have to be the one to say that. And again, age doesn't define a wisdom, but hopefully it does allow the time for you to grow in your wisdom. And we cannot respond to 2019 issues and challenges with the 1995 mindset. I mean, we just can't. So these are the things that we have to acknowledge within ourselves. I cannot respond to my son at 12 years old the same way that I responded to him at 3 years old. It changes. People develop, and hopefully you develop, and hopefully you seek enlightenment on your journey. And again, like I said in our 1 minute of meditation, that you learn the lesson and you exit stage left out of that classroom. Too many of us are taking the same class over and over and over again. And oftentimes it's not because we haven't learned the lesson. It's because we're not confident, or we have this fear or doubt of moving forward. It's like, all right, I learned the lesson with this dude. He did me dirty. He was whack, but I'm afraid to be by myself. So I'm just going to stay in this classroom with this person who is totally not popping for me. I know that. He probably knows it. My family and my friends know it. And social media probably knows it too. But I'm afraid to move forward. So I'm just going to stay in this classroom. And you're getting left back every single year because you aren't taking that lesson and moving into the new classroom. So the experiences that we have in our adulthood teach us these lessons. And sometimes we go through unfortunate, unprofitable situations and we stay there and we become afraid. So then we start to build our paradigm around this one situation that we've experienced. not recognizing that, number one, I endured it and I made it through. And if that's not the lesson and if that's the only thing that you get from that, then take that and start to build from it. But too often, we shift our entire mental state. We shift our entire attitude towards life based on this one situation. And even if you looked at that situation, you would find the good, even in that. So again, reasons why we worry is based on insecurities, and then they're based on the experiences that we have, the experiences that we go through, and we might find some challenge in that area. Those are some of the things that cause us to worry. And then the other part of experiences that causes us to worry, is other people's experiences. Let's just take a deep breath. We worry because of something that happened to somebody else. We take this person's whole experience and then we apply it on top of ours. We superimpose it on top of our lives, and we start to believe the paradigm of somebody else. And another way that we allow other people's experiences to influence the way we see our own existence is getting other people's advice. Well, girl, this is what happened to me, so I don't know. Or I couldn't do it, so I don't know. And it's like, it is very wise to seek counsel, but you have to be mindful of the source of that counsel, and you have to be mindful of not allowing that to impede on the thing that the life force is having take place in your life. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of your peers' experiences, and be mindful of the advice and the counsel that you get from other people. The other thing is just generational. So your family members may have experienced this thing, and they may have taught you, a certain paradigm or a certain philosophy towards a specific area in your life. They may have taught you, or you may have even seen them go through some experiences that were unfortunate and see how they react to it. And then you start to apply that to your life, to your life box, to your life toolkit. And then you start doing it just because it happened to somebody else. You have to be mindful of where you're getting your state of thought from. You have to be mindful of what it is that you're gleaning from and applying to your life. And you have to be mindful of the worries that you are inheriting from the people who have come before you. You have to be mindful of that. And then the other set of experiences that we tend to worry about is society and culture. Again, this is LifeClub. You have to be mindful of your media intake. I'm sure you've heard that before. You have to be mindful of what you're watching, what you're listening to, what stations you're tuning into every single day, because whether you know it or not, that is teaching. Those platforms are teaching you things about yourself, and not even teaching you things about yourself, but telling you things about yourself, or telling you things about the society and culture in which we live in, and you're just eating it up. You have to be mindful of the media intake that you choose to take part in on a regular basis, because they truly influence you. They get into your subconscious, and before you know it, you are acting out the very things that you've watched and seen on television, and it might not necessarily be to the magnitude of which you saw it, but they definitely impede on how you perceive yourself, how you perceive life, and how you move throughout life itself. Once again, you are tuning in to a LifeClub with me, Tashima Jones. We are speaking about worry. Super excited to have you joining in. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you are here with me, and for that, I'm truly grateful. We are going to get some tips and tools on how not to worry. And by the end of this episode, this class, this installment of LifeClub, I want you to be so mad at worry itself that you just drop it, that you just have no relationship with anymore, that you literally get so angry at it that you decide to move forward from it. Again, worry is to choke. Because if somebody rolled up on you and started choking you, you would have a problem and you would defend yourself and you would walk away. And I hope that you take that same reality and apply it to this idea of worry and just refuse to allow it to impede on your mind. So we talked about what worry is. We talked about the reasons why people worry. And two of those reasons were insecurities and experiences. And last but not least is the need for control. And I think this may be the biggest reason why people worry is because of this need to be in control of your situation, of your life, of everybody in your life, and of everything that pertains to you. You have to get to a point in your life where you realize the things that you are in control of and the things that you are not in control of. And I always say, I didn't choose to be born on April 5th, 1983 at 10:20 a.m. So if I did not choose one of the greatest events, I would like to say of all time, how can I expect to be in control of my Monday and of my Tuesday and of my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? How can I expect to control the drivers on the street and the people I work with and the people that I come into contact with each and every day? How do I expect, like that right there is literally, that will literally drive you into a space where you're literally out of your mind, like literally out of your mind, to where you're not even taking stock of the thoughts that you are having and the emotions that you're experiencing and the behavior that you are exuding. We have to recognize that we have a certain level of control. I truly believe that we all have these little territories that we're responsible for, and that you have your territory, I have my territory, and we're just like this beautiful big kingdom together. And we are responsible for certain areas in our life, certain spaces and places and spheres of influence that we have been granted just because we're on planet Earth. So with that, you have to understand that you deal with your domain, you control your territory, and leave the rest up to the life force. You are incapable of controlling every single thing and every single person in your life. That is a huge source of worry. And I am speaking and saying this because I have been that person. And it's not to say that I tried to control other people, but I definitely tried to control how other people treated me and how other people reacted to me. And even if it's not this overt sense of controlling other people, it's the thoughts that I would have and the insecurities that played on those thoughts, and me trying to fix myself to get somebody else to like me. That's still a sense of control. Like, that's low-key manipulation when you're trying to do things for other people to like you. No, we can't do that anymore. We cannot do that to ourselves anymore. And I always say that if you are not being yourself, you are robbing somebody else of being their true selves. So we have to get over this sense of control. We have to accept the reality of the things that we are in control of and leave the other things up to the life force. Free yourself today by dropping this idea that you can control everything and start to focus on the things that you do have power and authority over, starting with your thoughts. A lot of us are trying to control other people or run businesses and run a household, and you can't even keep up with your own thoughts. This is really an epidemic that we are ending today by dealing with worry. Okay, so the reasons people worry: 1, insecurities; 2, experiences that we've had in the past; and last but not least, the need for control. And I truly believe the things that we're about to dive into now, our tips and tools, aka your homework, aka your life work, will definitely help you on this journey First and foremost, I really want to say that you have to be patient with yourself. If you have thought a certain way for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, do not expect to wake up tomorrow and have a whole different philosophy towards life. And that's the thing that really stops us in so many areas, even when it comes to forgiveness or when it comes to learning something new or moving forward, is the fact that we don't get it right away, or the fact that we don't feel it right away, or the fact all of these things will come, but you have to give yourself patience. You have to be patient with yourself on this journey to, on of life itself. You have to be patient with yourself. So that's one of the things that I truly feel led to share, is that you have to employ patience with yourself, employ grace towards yourself and to the other people in your life. Just be patient. Just be patient. And patient doesn't mean sitting still and not doing anything. It's moving actively, applying the things that you've learned towards life and being patient with the result of those things. So it's not just sitting there. And I'm a big fan of meditation, but meditation is not something that you do sitting still all the time. Meditation is implanting a new thought in your mind. It's working with it on a daily basis. It's mulling it over in your head over and over and over again until it gets attached to that tree and a neuron in your brain and in your heart, until the point where it just becomes you. So be patient with yourself in this process of kicking the habit of worry. Secondly is trust. Again, when I came out of my mother's womb, I did not know what I was getting myself into. I didn't. I really didn't. And the same trust I had when I was a baby is the same trust I have to apply as a 36-year-old woman. I'm 4 years away from 40. OMG. It's the same reality. It's the same trust that I have to employ each and every single day of my existence. We have to trust the life force. We have to trust that it is well. We have to trust that we were not placed here without an army of angels holding us down and pulling us up and even dragging us sometimes along the journey to keep moving forward. You have to have this undeniable trust of the invisible spirit that gives us life each and every single day. Trust. So there's patience and then there's trust. And then there's this sense of gratitude. You have to be thankful for what it is that you have. I'm about to cry right now. I'm just letting y'all know. So if you feel you sound, you hear me a little shaky in my voice, that's the reason. You have to be grateful for where you are and be grateful for the little things. You have to be grateful for everything. When you just look out into the world and see. And I don't like using this concept of gratitude, comparing yourself to other people. Some people are like, well, it can always be worse. Look at this person. Look at that person. You just have to be grateful for the simple fact that you have breath in your lungs, that you have a mind, that you have the ability to see, touch, taste, and smell. And even if you don't have one of those abilities, the reality of it is that gratitude has to become this norm in your life. Too many of us are wanting so much more, and we're neglecting everything that we already have. And instead of comparing your life to somebody else's for this sense of gratitude, compare it to where you were a week ago. Compare it to where you were a year ago. Compare it to where you were 10 years ago, and see how much you have either maintained or received. You have to be grateful for the journey. You have to be grateful for where you are. Like in this moment, you have to look back and be like, yo, I'm still here. Even if I'm still here. Even if your bank account didn't change, even if your zip code didn't change, even if you still don't got that boo or that bae. Be grateful for the fact that I am still here. That alone should give you life in itself. So gratitude, be grateful, give thanks for the reality of you. Even if you're not, if it's just you, just be grateful that you got at least one friend, and that could be you. Next is hope. Now, I recently had this situation in my life where the lights turned on when it came to this concept of hope. And hope is really this idea of your imagination. Hope is seeing something on the inside of you and believing that that thing will become tangible. Hope is your imagination. Hope is the image that you have on the inside, whether it's about yourself, whether it's about your future, whatever it's pertaining to. Hope is the picture that you have of yourself on the inside. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like hashtag underdog. Like I was really like, I didn't see. It's like going through this process of renewing your mind and experiencing new things and becoming more and more enlightened to the truth about who you are and who you're becoming. That for me, not necessarily hasn't been surface level, but it's definitely a new classroom that I'm in. So I still have remnants of the old person, and not necessarily the person I was, but the person I saw myself. So now there's this battle between images of who I know I am and who I know I'm becoming, and this person, the person that I saw myself as in the past. So there's literally like this image, this nation of images going on in my head, aka imagination. And there's this battle going on the inside of me, and that's hope. Hope is what you see on the inside when you close your eyes, those images, those pictures that pop up on the inside of your mind's eye. And we have to develop that. And truly, that development of hope comes through trusting. It comes through being patient with the process, and it comes through being grateful. And of course, hope is always going to lead us to faith. Faith is literally trust. It's literally gratitude. It's literally hope. It's a combination. It's like the cake. Like faith is like a cake, and your ingredients are patience, gratitude, trust, and hope. And when you have all of those things, it just gives you this courage to believe beyond what you see. It gives you this ability to move forward in the face of adversity. It gives you this strength that you didn't even know that you had. It gives you the freedom to not worry because you know that it is well. That was spiritual bars right there. I'm just going to leave it there. That's just a great place to just see la until the next time. Once again, if you were just tuning in, this is Life Club with me, Tashima Jones. Today we have been speaking about how not to worry. Remember, to worry is to choke. So do not be a participating party in your demise. Again, whether that's physically or spiritually, mentally or emotionally, do not accept this concept of worry. Kick the habit of worry. Remember, the reason why we worry is just as important as the idea and the concept of worry, the behavior of worry itself. Remember, dig in deep, find out your insecurities, release this need to control, and look back on your experience